Hey y'all, it's Sierra, aka Capricorn Moon Goddess, back with a video for y'all. This is just a rant style video. Um, I'm probably gonna do a reading later, but I gotta make some wax melts and some hand sanitizer today, so I probably won't be doing too many reading videos today. But I wanted to go ahead and just make this video about something that has been on my mind, and it is basically what is it like to be a child of a parent that has a traumatic background or that has suffered some sort of trauma in their childhood. Okay. In particularly parents who have had traumatic childhoods, or maybe just have had a series of traumatic relationships. Okay, even if it's adult relationships, maybe like young adult ages, where they had a series of abusive relationships. What is it like to be the child of a parent that has that, and in particularly parents that have not undergone counseling? Y'all need to get counseling. If you have a traumatic childhood, if you have an abusive childhood, if you've been in a lot of abusive relationships, even as an adult, and you have children, if you have access to counseling, I know not everybody has access, not everybody is able to pay for it. However, there are free resources. Okay. When I got pregnant with my son at 19, I was going to a place called the Pregnancy Center, where they gave you free parenting classes, and they also gave you free counseling, and they gave you access to free resources. Like if you needed, you could get like points towards like cribs, diapers, formula. You could get like accumulate points from taking the parenting classes. So even if you don't have access to pay for things yourself, there are typically some sort of programs or something that you could get access to, counseling or some sort of classes, if you need it. Okay. So if you can't afford counseling, then you owe it to yourself and to your children to try to find free resources if you can. Okay. If you want something bad enough, this goes into manifestation. If you want something bad enough, then you're going to open up pathways to be able to receive that. Okay. Um, and the reason why I'm saying you owe it to yourself as well as your children to get counseling is because not everybody is self-aware enough to be able to counsel themselves, or self-aware enough to be able to recognize when they're reacting to things from a place of trauma. When you are overly defensive, if you are defensive all the time, if you feel like people are attacking you all the time, if people are coming to you to tell you that you hurt my feelings, you did something I don't like, I don't like the way that you speak to me, I don't like the way you treat me, and you automatically get into a defense mode, you're not listening. Okay. What you're doing is you are listening to respond so you can defend yourself. You're not listening to understand that person and understand why they have the perception of you. Okay. So, what's going to happen is you are going to essentially traumatize your own children because you're reacting to them from a place of trauma. So you're going to create those same cycles for them. Okay. How many times do we talk about generational curses where we have a long line of mothers and daughters who don't get along, or fathers and sons who don't get along? And you can go back throughout the generations and generations and see this pattern, a pattern of sexual abuse, a pattern of incest, a pattern of molestation, a pattern of living in poverty, alcoholism, whatever, you name it. Okay. Typically, and you would say, one would say, well, if I had a parent that was abusive to me, or that talked to me crazy, or that wasn't affectionate, and I didn't like that, why would I do that to my own kids? Most people would be like, why would you do that to your own kids if you didn't like it? A lot of the times it happens because the person that went through that trauma hasn't gotten help for it, and they may not even fully be aware that they are passing on trauma that they experience. They're doing the same thing. They don't know how to control it, so they end up doing the same thing to their children, and that cycle keeps continuing until somebody decides, you know what, I'm not going to continue the cycle of toxicity. A lot of people don't know how to function in relationships that are not toxic. They don't know how to have a disagreement. Disagreements can be healthy and they are normal. We are not always going to agree with each other. We're not always going to have the same perspectives. Okay. We all have different things that make us tick. All of that. Okay. We don't have to get along 24/7, but when you get into an argument or a disagreement with someone, you don't have to take it to the most toxic level possible, okay? And a lot of people don't know how to function in a regular environment. They are used to dysfunction. So therefore, they don't feel right when there's not a lot of dysfunction going on. They have to create dysfunction. If they have grown up in toxicity or they're used to dysfunctional relationships or toxic relationships, they think it's okay. Because people that are in toxic relationships where both parties are toxic, they're used to going as low as they can, all the way to the pits of hell when they're arguing, saying the most craziest things to each other, the most hurtful things, doing the most hurtful things, physically hurting one another, trying to really, really basically take you out, okay? The meanest thing they can think of saying they want to say to you because they feel like later they can just apologize. Yeah, I was mad. We got into it. I said some stuff. I didn't mean it. I was just mad. People in toxic relationships function like that. They can argue and fight and go all the way to the pits of hell, and then they'll be cool the next day. They'll be cool 3 days later. And then they go and do that same cycle over and over again. But the problem is when you try to interact with people that aren't toxic and you try to have arguments with people that aren't toxic and you say those crazy things and you do those crazy things, not everybody else is going to be able to come back from that. You're not going to be able to just talk to everybody crazy and say the most hurtful things and do the most hurtful things and then y'all going to be cool again, because that's not how toxic people interact with each other. And then they love to say you're unforgiving if you don't want to talk to them anymore. No, I need y'all to go look up the definition of forgiveness and tell me, does it say anywhere in that definition that in order to forgive somebody, you have to still communicate with them, you have to still be around them, you have to still allow them to have access to you? Because last time I checked, it didn't. Okay, I can forgive you and have nothing to do with you. I can forgive you and love you from a distance. A lot of toxic people don't understand the definitions of the words they use, and I'm gonna need y'all to go get a dictionary pronto. Look up the words before you start spewing them out at people, because you have some sort of warped understanding of the meaning. So go back to the basics, go back to elementary school, look up the definitions of these words. We are living in a time where I don't know if my parents are, my mom is 50 or 51, maybe 52. Child, I don't know. I'm 32, so I would be a millennial. I don't know what her generation is. I don't know if it's Gen Z, Generation X, baby. I don't know. What's the people before the millennials? Okay. We're in a interesting time right now because the millennials, we have access to more information. We have access to more information about counseling. We have access to more information about toxicity, how to recognize toxicity, how to voice your opinion, how to speak up for yourself. Whereas our parents and their parents and their parents come from a time where children were seen and not heard. Even if you're an adult, you better respect your parent like they're God almost. As an adult, you still can't tell your parent how they made you feel, how they upset you, because disagreeing with them in any way, shape, or form is considered disrespect. Once again, I'm gonna need y'all to go get a dictionary and look up the word respectful, look up the word disrespectful. Does it say anywhere in that definition that if I don't agree with you, I'm automatically disrespectful? Please let me know. But here's the thing: when you come from generations of toxicity, and when you come from, I'm talking about individually in your family unit, but also a whole culture of people. I cannot speak for other cultures. I'm a Black person. That's the label we have in America, because we don't always agree on the label. The label that we all recognize is I'm a Black person. And in the Black community, a lot of the times, you cannot say nothing back to your parent. If they could cuss you out, okay, up and down the street, you better not say nothing. You better sit there. You better not flinch. You better not. They'll love to tell, fix your face. Fix your face. Why are you looking like that? Oh, you want to cry? I'm going to give you something to cry about. You know all those sayings. You can't say nothing. Even as an adult, you cannot say nothing back to them, even if they disrespect you. You still have to uphold a certain level of respect. And I do believe in respecting your elders, but I believe that I should be able to respectfully voice my opinion. But voicing your opinion can be seen as disrespect in and of itself, regardless of how you tiptoe around their feelings, regardless of how you try to assure them. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I am trying to explain. This is how I see this. I see this differently. That is disrespect. Disagreement equals disrespect sometimes in the Black community, and I'm sure in other communities of people as well. I just cannot speak for them because I'm not in that community. Okay, so that's intensified because it's a cultural thing that we all pretty much deal with. But it's intensified when you have a parent that has a traumatic childhood, because in some way, whatever age where that trauma happened to them, if they haven't undergone the proper counseling, they stopped growing emotionally at that age. They don't have emotional maturity. Not all, that's what I'm saying. You know, people who have not done the proper self work or counseling. The ones who still need to work on it are reacting from a place of trauma, and they're reacting from handling the situation as if they're whatever age the trauma happened to them. If they had trauma happen to them when they were 8, they may handle certain emotional situations like an 8-year-old would. They literally will throw a fit if you don't agree with them, if you don't give them what they want. They cannot. I don't even think it's they won't understand. It may seem like you just refuse to understand where other people are coming from. Some of them cannot, because they are still a little child, especially if they felt like nobody defended them. If they felt like they didn't have anyone that was a protector, they have this hard shield around them where they have to protect themselves, and they have to get you before you get them. They see everything as an attack. So if you see everything as an attack, you're automatically going to be defensive, and you don't want to hear what somebody else has to say. You are completely closed off to seeing the errors in your ways. Or they may say things like, well, yes, now that you explain that what I did hurt you, I can see that. But you should know I didn't mean it. You should know I wasn't trying to do that. You should know that wasn't my intent. So, because you know I'm your parent, and you know that I love you, and you know that I would not want to ever harm you, I'm offended that even though everything I said, any normal person would feel hurt by that. Any normal person would feel disrespected by my actions, and I agree they are disrespectful now that I go back and look at it. But you should know I didn't mean it, so I'm still offended that you would think that I was trying to hurt you. You should know that I didn't mean to do it, so why are you mad? Why are you upset with me when you know I didn't mean that? It just came out that way. It just happens that way. They cannot process things like a rational adult when it comes to emotions, affections, arguments, disagreements, feeling attacked. Okay. Another sign of this may be when you are trying to escalate or de escalate, when you are in an argument with them. You kind of realize it's pointless to argue with this type of person because they're not going to see things from your side. They're going to play victim. They are going to play victim. You can't say anything to them about how they make you feel because they're automatically going to play victim and try to make you feel bad. I can't believe, I'm so hurt that you would think that I would try to hurt you. Oh my God, I would never do that. Why would you? How dare you even think that, even though everything I said and did would make a normal person think that? You should know my heart. Okay, they say stuff like, you should know my heart. God knows my heart. God is going to vindicate me. They love to bring God into it. God knows what I meant. Okay, well, you ain't talking to God right now. You talking to me. I'm a human. I'm not God. And I'm not Jesus. And I'm not turning the other cheek all the time. Okay? So, they get extremely defensive. They get extremely sad. They do a lot of emotional manipulation. They do a lot of projection. However, they are behaving, they will actually tell you that you're the person that's behaving that way. Everything that they're doing to you, they're going to tell you you're doing it. They have selective memory. They don't remember things. They don't remember all the stuff they say. They don't remember the order of how certain events happened. Okay. They move things out of order. They will omit information. If they were to retell the scenario to somebody else, they're going to omit information that actually makes them look bad. So people are not going to be able to get a clearer picture about what happened if they're asking somebody for advice, because they're not going to tell everything. And it's almost as if counseling might not work for them, because if you go to the counselor and you don't tell them the truth, how can they really help you? They would have to be an intuitive counselor. They may have to work with somebody that's more like an intuitive life coach that can call them out like, look, you're not being honest. Okay. Some of the stuff logically might not make sense, so one may say, well, that's nonsensical. It seemed like you're leaving something out. But it's getting to a point where we have millennials versus other older generations, and they're saying we're extremely disrespectful, and I didn't talk to my mama that way, I didn't talk to my daddy that way. I used to get hit for doing the smallest thing. Just because you got abused as a child doesn't mean you should abuse me. Just because you're angry about your childhood doesn't mean that you should torture your own kids, whether you mean to or not. But a lot of the times, these people refuse to get counseling, especially if they feel like, here's the thing, they can lie to themselves, okay? They believe their own lies, they believe their own hype. So they've hyped themselves up to believe, I am self-aware. I am aware of my actions. I do know exactly why I react the way I react. People are attacking me and I'm just responding. Everybody else is childish. Everybody else is overreacting. Everyone else has the problem but them. They are able to convince themselves, because that's a part of a defense mechanism that they had to learn, especially if they were abused. If they were abused as a child, a lot of things that people say to children when they're abusing them, whether it be physically or sexual abuse, they tell them it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. So they may have to, in order to survive, they have a lot of survival instincts. In order to survive, they may have to tell themselves, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. And it really wasn't their fault. Whatever they went through as a child, it wasn't their fault. And so now, as an adult, they have to keep convincing themselves that it wasn't their fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Everybody's coming for me. They see everyone as, they react to everyone as their abuser. Everybody else is the enemy. Everybody's trying to come for them. Everybody's trying to make them look bad. They also cannot handle accountability because they cannot handle the guilt that comes with accepting accountability. They feel like you're trying to completely destroy their character when you tell them, hey, what you did was dishonest. What you did was hurtful. In their minds, they feel like you're trying to convict them of a murder or something when it's just like, it's not even that serious. You won't even be that mad. You're just like, hey, I'm just letting you know I didn't like the way you did that. Just telling you so you don't do it again, but we still cool. But they take it as if you're trying to crucify them for the smallest thing that they actually did to you. It's not even like you're overreacting. I'm reacting to something you actually did to me. If I were to tell this story to other people, everyone would agree that you were wrong. It's not that big of a deal, though. I'm just telling you, like, let's not do that again. But they feel like you're trying to crucify them. Everything is intense. Everything is intensified. So if you are a child of someone that's like this, even when you from childhood up into adult, you learn to tiptoe around them. You learn to recognize, if you are mature enough and if you are self-aware enough, and you have to be extremely mature to have a parent like this in order to understand them. If you're mature enough to understand them and you know what their background, if they shared with you their abuse or whatever, a lot of times you learn to overlook what they do because you know they're reacting from that space. And they do little things to poke the bear all the time, and you just kind of ignore it, like, whatever. That's just how they are because they have this unhealed trauma they need to deal with, and I'm just gonna be the bigger person and ignore them. You have to be the bigger person with this person all the time because you love them. You actually love them and you want the best for them, so you give them allowances to be who they are because deep down you know where it's coming from. But after a while, you can only take so much. You can only take so much. You can only take so much. You're going to end up exploding and imploding yourself. So you either can create distance between you and the person. Um, Most of the time it's more of a one-sided relationship anyways, where they really don't have consistent communication with you. They're not really affectionate with you. They aren't really considerate, you know. You may go all out for them on their birthday and give them really meaningful gifts. They don't do the same. A lot of the time they expect a lot from other people and they don't reciprocate. And then they will accuse you of doing things that they actually do. No one ever calls me. No one ever comes to see me. Well, you set up the relationship that way. Growing up as a child, you weren't affectionate. You didn't want to seem to cultivate a close relationship. We learn to tiptoe around you. So if we don't have a strong relationship with you now that we're adults and we don't live with you, that's your fault. I'm just following the pattern that you set up. You didn't seem to want that. So they may be the type of parent that's like one-sided, where I'm the mama, I'm the daddy, you should call me all the time, you should text me all the time, you should initiate all the time. But they never set up the relationship for you to be even comfortable doing that. Like, I didn't even know you wanted to talk to me on the phone. Like, you want me to call you? I had no idea, because we just, it's a need to know type of relationship. When we need to talk to each other, we do. And if it's not a necessity, it's not, I'm calling you to see how you doing today, because you never set up that relationship. We've learned to tiptoe around you. We've learned not to even argue with you on certain things. Just let you do you, child. Just let them do them. We've learned not to call you out on every single thing. What's the point? Then they may be upset with you if you, let's say you have siblings or you have other family members and you all talk to each other and complain to each other about that person. They're going to see it as you all are being messy, you all are gossiping, you're talking about them behind their back, but they're not realizing nobody can talk to you. So we're all talking to each other about how we feel like you've made us feel, because we need somebody. We don't need someone to validate us, but we need to be able to talk to people who actually know you, and they, because other people don't know this person for real. They know the facade they put up. They probably get along very well with other people outside of the family. So I can't just talk to anybody about you, but I can talk to my family members who really know you, because they understand exactly what's happening. You haven't set it up for people to be able to come to you and talk to you, because the conversation is going to end with you not accepting accountability, you blaming people for actually being upset with you for what you actually did. I'm talking about, they will be like, yeah, that was kind of messed up that I did that, but you should have known I didn't mean it. So I'm offended that you didn't just, get over it, because I didn't mean it. Like, I'm just crazy, 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 crazy. But then they're gonna tell you crazy. If you ever admit any of your faults to this person, they will use it against you. I'm the type of person that will tell people I can get angry very quickly. I don't react out of anger though, but I can feel the emotions of anger. But I know how to rationalize things, and I know how to think about things before I say them, and critique myself. What am I doing wrong here to contribute to the situation? So if you tell them I can get angry quickly, they're gonna use that against you. You said yourself you get mad quick, so I'm not wrong in this situation, even though I am wrong, because you already said that you get mad quick. So maybe you just mad and it's not that big of a deal. They're gonna constantly keep crossing lines, crossing lines, crossing lines. Small lines, big lines, medium lines. And they expect you to take it and take it and take it. And it's getting to a point in the world where we have more access to things like psychology and counseling and talking to each other and being able to share our experiences with other people. And children are not taking the same stance of, I cannot say anything to my parent about the way they make me feel. It's not happening. We're getting to a space where your children will cut you off. It used to be parents only cutting children off. We're getting to a space where the kids are like, look, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for everything you did for me. But just because you're my parent does not mean I have to allow you in my life. So either you're going to respect me and my feelings, or we just won't be talking. And what's going to happen is, a lot of you parents that don't want to go get counseling, which we have more access to counseling than ever before, so there really is no excuse, you're going to end up by yourself. You're going to end up in a home somewhere by yourself. I worked in insurance for years and years and years and years and years. And there will be people 70, 80, 90 years old. And we're trying to have these conversations with them about these complex situations, and they can't understand what I'm saying. They have all these different issues that affect their memory. It would be so difficult to try to talk to these people. They don't know how to use technology. And it would be like, where are your children? Where are your grandchildren? Some of them had kids that just wasn't ish, okay? They just wasn't ish, and they just weren't helpful, and they were selfish. But some of them people, I bet you their kids was like, look, you cut off because you keep on trying me over and over again. So now you 70, 80, 90 years old and you have no help. Parents that have traumatic childhoods, if you've been in a lot of abusive relationships, if you've had abusive relationships with the fathers of your children or the mothers of your children, if you have daddy issues, if you have mommy issues, if you have sexual abuse issues, if you have physical abuse issues, drug abuse issues, abandonment issues, go get help. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your children. There's only so many allowances people can give you before they have to just cut you off, because we have our own lives. We have our own children. We have our own goals. And all of the people that are into things like manifestation and taking leaps of faith and trying to really, really make a change, okay, for generations to come, you understand how it is very, very important to be in a good mental space. And you cannot have outside influences interfering with your mental space, with your vibration. You're trying to do big things here. You cannot have unnecessary negativity. If it's negativity that I do not have to deal with, I will cut it out of my life, period, point blank. I'm trying to make changes for my son so he don't have to suffer and work for somebody else, be abused as an employee like I had to deal with, not have money for food and gas and this and that, and have to pray his way to work like I did sometimes. I'm trying to get my business off the ground. I'm trying to have generational wealth. I do not have time for somebody that has access to counseling to refuse to go to counseling and continue to bring negativity. Y'all are going to get cut off. And you can go online and talk to your little friends that's from the same age group, and they can all agree with you that these kids is disrespectful these days and whatever. And all y'all gonna be by y'allself, okay? So I hope y'all all are there to help each other when y'all all in the home together, okay? And your kids have moved on with their lives. Take the step. Is it that hard? Is it that hard to go get help? You want to keep standing in your own way. I guarantee you, you have not prospered to your full potential, and you're not going to. You can say, nobody has control over me. You can't tell me I'm going to prosper. My God, this, my God, that, whatever. Okay. It's the reality. If you don't want to accept it, it don't matter. Whatever. You're not going to prosper to your full potential if you are not doing the things to get yourself there. And you're torturing your own kids, your own family member, your own spouses, your own employees, whoever it is that you take your issues out on a daily basis, okay? You're not going to get to where you need to be, period, point blank. Your facade can only last for so long. And then they don't want people to speak out. They don't want you to bring stuff to social media. They don't want you to do this and that. It's all about what they want you to do. And I'm telling y'all now, as people are working on their spirituality and pulling away from religion and more into spirituality and having a relationship with God themselves, and understanding that the stuff that we get taught sometimes in religion, honor your mother and your father, and they forget there's other verses in the Bible that talk about honoring your children. We are getting out of that, and you either gonna get with the program or you're gonna be by yourself, period, point blank. The only people that's going to stick around are the people that are toxic themselves, and they like that toxic arguing back and forth, calling each other out of the name, cussing each other out, going to the lowest level of hell possible, and then y'all back cool again, eating breakfast again the next morning. That's the people that you're going to be stuck with, because people that are working on elevating, one of the things you learn very early on is you end up losing relationships with people when you elevate. When you're moving to the next level in life, you got to leave people behind. And sometimes it's the people that's closest to you. You can't take everybody with you. You learn very, very early on to be comfortable with being by yourself and that you don't need other people. You want other people in your life, but you don't need them. Even if they're providing you resources, money, helping you with your lifestyle, you are going to have to leave that behind, step out on faith, and you won't need them. Trust me. You're going to get more resources. You're going to run into more people that's going to be willing to help you. Okay. You're going to learn your own strength. So they might try to use money against you to keep you there. You're going to have to learn to step out on faith and leave them where they at, because they're only going to drag you down or keep you stagnant. One thing about these type of people, they don't like it when you elevate past them, because they start to feel like a failure. Well, like I said earlier, you're not reaching your full potential because you won't do the work that's required on yourself. It's the same people that want to tell everybody else what to do. They want to be coaches. They want to be psychologists. Have y'all seen the Real Housewives of Potomac? Candace's mom is a psychologist and crazy as I don't know what, hitting her daughter in the head with a freaking purse. Like, if some of these people are in positions like psychologists, doctors, priests, pastors, life coaches, these positions where they're supposed to be helping other people elevate, that's why you have to have discernment and really be careful about who you go to for help, who you go to try to help you elevate. Because a lot of time, them people love to focus on helping other people because they don't want to focus on helping themselves. First of all, they can tell everybody else what their problems are, but you can't focus on yourself. I have a child, and I decided that I wasn't going to pass on the same hurt, the same issues that I had to deal with from my parents. I'm not passing that on to my son. I'm not talking to him crazy. I'm not cussing him out. I'm not depriving him of affection. Okay. One thing I will say about my parents, they were very, very protective. Nobody could mess with us. Okay. They didn't play about that. They made sure we were well rounded, made sure we were smart, intelligent. We know how to behave. We know how to act in front of company. Okay. Very poised. I will say that. I have a way better childhood than a lot of people had. I didn't have that abuse and all of that. I did not have to deal with that, but that doesn't mean it was perfect. So as a mother, and I didn't know when I got pregnant with my son, I was like, am I going to be able to show him affection, because I didn't get affection from my mom. So am I going to be able to do that? Like, when I had my son, it just came naturally. I was naturally hugging and kissing him and telling him I love him and stuff. Like, I didn't even like people telling me they love me. Like, it would make me uncomfortable. Like, my sisters would be like, I love you. And I'd be like, stop saying that. Don't say that to me, because our mom did not tell us that. If my mom try to hug me today, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's going to be weird. It's going to be awkward. Why are you hugging me? That's weird. But she was very, very protective, though. I'll give her that. Don't try to comfort her kids, okay? She gonna protect us, and if we hit rock bottom, she's gonna be there to pick us up. She's a protector, a protector, a protector, and a protector, and I will give her that. She will give us the shirt off her back, all that stuff. But she got some problems emotionally, with emotional maturity and being able to argue without bringing toxicity, and not being aware of how she treats other people and makes other people feel because of her childhood trauma. And I'm not putting her business out on blast, because she wrote a book about her childhood trauma. It's called Broken But Not Destroyed. Okay. You want to read it, go pick it up. Okay. So I'm not putting her out on blast, but I'm saying that she needs to do some work. Okay. Broken but not destroyed. But you also are operating from a space of survival. And when you are operating from survival mode, you cannot be worried about other people. You have to worry about yourself. Self preservation, period. There's no need for you to be operating from survival mode right now because you're not in a situation where you have to be. You are safe. You are safe. You don't need the fight or flight. It's funny because I kind of realized recently, like, the reason why I get so angry, it's kind of like I start feeling like the Hulk a little bit. I felt like I get a lot of I get extra adrenaline. Um and it's because too much adrenaline is being released when I get angry because my fight and flight kicks in when I'm not in danger. It's kicking in and it doesn't need to be kicking in. I forgot the name of the nerve that's connected to that cuz I am studying that right now. Um there is a certain nerve that controls that and controls, I think the kidneys also control adrenaline and stuff, but I realize too much adrenaline is being released when I get angry. So my body starts going into fight or flight and my adrenaline starts to rise. It literally is a very uncomfortable feeling. My heart's beating out of my chest. It's racing. I feel like I have a whole lot of energy. I feel like I could pick up a freaking car or something. It's what happens when a mother sees their child in danger and they get all this adrenaline and they can have the force of the Hulk. That is not normal. I've recognized that. But see, I do the self work to recognize when things are not right. And I need to pay attention to that. And I need to pay attention to when it's happening. And I need to figure it out why. I'm a naturally curious, inquisitive person. And through my research, I figured that out. That's why I don't react right away. People will tell me, you have a delayed response sometimes, or you very you kind of think before you speak. Yeah, because I don't want to say nothing crazy to you. I think other people should try that. Think before you speak. You don't have to respond with the first thing that comes to mind, okay? Because I got a smart mouth. I got a smart mouth and I know how to play mental games with people. I got to keep my petty in check, okay? Because I'll have somebody want to hurt themselves after they try to think they finna play a chess game with me. I'm gonna win all the time when it comes to emotional warfare, mental warfare. So because I know that, I keep myself in check, and I might not even respond, even though I could respond and totally obliterate you with just my words. I'm not going to do that because I don't take pride in doing that. I understand how far I can go, and I choose not to go that far. Other people don't know how to do that. Okay, they don't know how to transmute their feelings and put that energy into something else. So yeah, that is my rant. Let me end this now. It's going on 45 minutes. That's my rant about how parents who have traumatic childhoods, who've been in abusive situations throughout childhood with their own parents or in abusive romantic relationships, especially if you have children by the abusers, okay? Because you might have some resentment towards those kids and you don't realize it. If you made a lot of mistakes when you were younger and you had a bunch of kids when you were young, you might have some resentment towards those kids. If those kids' other parents decided not to help you, you might have some resentment. But really, you have guilt about you not making the best decisions in your own life, okay? And it's coming out as aggression towards other people because you need to work on it. If you want to have a good, positive relation with your kids, a lot of the times, children, adult children, and young children are very understanding. And we know this is why my parent is acting like this. They had a hard life. We don't blame you for that. We don't blame you for having a hard life, but we can only take so much. So do everybody a favor, including yourself, and go get help. That's what I got for y'all. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my rant. If you can relate to this and you feel comfortable leaving a comment in the comment section, okay, please feel free to do so. Also, if you have a Capricorn moon, my name's Capricorn Moon Goddess because my moon sign is Capricorn. If you have a Capricorn moon and you're dealing with issues with like your mom or feeling like you had to grow up at a young age, what I've learned throughout researching astrology is that's kind of normal for people who have their moon sign in Capricorn. So I empathize with you. Okay. Hang in there. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Toodles.